Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Fry, and welcome to the Space Between podcast episode number 9. Today, I have the great honor of speaking with Maria.
Hi, Dave. This is Maria Brigantino, and I'm so happy to be with you today.
Brigantino.
The brilliance of this understanding is to share in our infinite possibilities. You and I are no different from each other regarding how our thinking works and who we are at our core. The purpose of these podcasts is to replace the phrase anxiety and depression with the word misunderstanding. This understanding unleashes profound inner freedom that is sustainable and life-changing. Because we truly never know how we're going to show up and life is a dance, at the end of this podcast are some funny deleted scenes. Please enjoy. We are here to invite you to work with us through our coaching practice. Discover yourself beyond what is ordinary. Thank you for watching. The links are in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe and click on that bell to be notified of new podcasts. Maria is a certified change coach who works with high-achieving women who want to stop white-knuckling their way through drastic diets and start living fully. She has a master's in organizational leadership and over 15 years of municipal health care management and consulting experience. Maria's coaching programs are rooted in human experience and provide a self-compassionate, zero-willpower approach for breaking free of eating disorders and developing a more loving relationship with food and yourself. She's passionate about showing others how to let go of self-sabotaging habits, not by changing their behavior, but by their perspective. Maria lives in Ontario, Canada with her hubby, 2 fur babies, and too many shoes. Find out more at m-path.ca. Maria, thank you so much for being here. This is a great honor. I'm very excited that you're here. We have so much to talk about, I'm just so grateful in my life that life has moved me in a direction and I can see that things change naturally, organically. Although there was moments where my thinking said, I need to connect with you, it didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, we're here right now. And it's like there's parts of life that really do seem like miracles to me. And instead of the miracle being the big thing, it's these little tiny miracles that happen all the time that are just mind-blowing. But it's a privilege to have you here, and I can't wait to get going. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Dave. I'm kind of laughing because you said that that you wanted to connect, and I wanted to connect as well. And for whatever reason, I was hesitant, and maybe you could call that procrastination from a thinking place, not giving it time to prioritize and connect with you and figure out, what's going to work in our calendars. And it's so funny because we saw each other just at the right time. And that was the moment that I was like, I'm not even going to let this moment pass. We're going to make this happen right now. So it's funny how from a thought logic perspective, we get into our thinking about when should we connect with that person? What should we say? How should we say it? How should it be done? And then when it's supposed to happen, it just happens without thinking at all. So thank you for being open and allowing me to join you in this conversation today. And I'm glad that our timing crossed when it was supposed to.
Me too. Absolutely. Let's start off with the word empath and start there and just let's go with that. And I want this podcast to help others. And I right away, I just want you to know that I appreciate your service, and we've known each other for a little while via the school and through Amy Johnson, but I really don't know you and your story. So this is a great opportunity for you to share with others and tell us as much as you want to tell us. I'm here to listen.
Yeah, what a big question, Dave. I have like so much thinking about where do I even go with this? Because it's basically empath is summarizing my 40 years of existence on this earth. and what a journey it's been. I'm really grateful for being in this community, for having the gift of trying to understand every day, what it is to be human. And I think, I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think we see more about that in every conversation, at every second, and every moment. And it was funny because yesterday I was talking to a group of people, and I actually was lucky enough to be in a call with Amy Johnson, and we were talking about how this understanding is deepened over time. And my words, not hers or anybody else's, but really what we were saying is that we just see what it means to be human, like over and over and over and over again. And it's kind of like, oh, there's the epiphany. It's just thought. It's just thought. And then you have the same epiphany again. Oh, it's just thought. And then I learn it again. It's just thought. But it's always in a different context. But it's always just thought. Like that's what it comes down to. And yet it's so not apparent when it's not apparent, and it's apparent when it is apparent in that kind of intensity, right? Where you really don't see it or you really do see it. And sometimes you're sort of in the middle and you're like, I know I'm seeing something, but I'm not quite there. And it's just a feeling that you get. And so empath has been a journey of overthinking, of not seeing a lot of things, of being really caught up in me, I, as if I had control over my experience, as if I had control over other people, as if I had control over how people interacted with me or not. And so I think, I grew up in a challenging situation, and I was always trying to be the good girl, right? Like I had control over other people in my life and the circumstances that I would find myself in. And so, my safety depended on that. Now what I see, is that I was interacting with people who were doing the best that they could, and I was doing the best that I could. And that's all it was. And early on, where empath is today, I help other people who are struggling with overthinking, particularly when it comes to body image and being the perfectionist and the super good girl, which often leads to lots of disordered eating. And so that's where I really focus my attention. But really, I just try to help people see that it is just thought and it's not personal. And so while the context is around food, it's never really about food, which you probably know, right, Dave? It's not about how it manifests for us. So it's always looking at the truth of what our experience is in that moment. But often the suffering is the thing that we're staring at right away, and we just want to get rid of that suffering. And so that's how the conversation starts. And so I went through my own suffering journey and found relief and release and whatever you want to call that. It's hard to put words around this. And have been lucky enough just to see this like more deeply every single day. So my business name, my I guess identity of empath is really just speaks to, I've always been told, oh, you're an empath, Maria. You're an empath. You're an empath. And I never really knew what that meant. I care about people. Yeah, I do. I care about people to the point where I can feel their, love, and I can feel who they are. And in a previous life, I would say in this journey, I thought it was up to me to fix myself and to fix other people. And what I've really learned in this understanding is that I don't need to fix anybody. There's nothing to fix about me, and there's nothing to fix about other people. But we're just pointing people in a direction where they can see what's really happening. And we're always looking for that direction. And the stronger I see it in myself, the stronger I see it in my clients, which is really cool, and vice versa. And so empath is basically, I'm human, I care, I know that people don't need fixing, but I'm there to help people point the direct into a different direction. Oftentimes we're so used to looking straight forward that we just need somebody to maybe point us a little left or a little right. And so that's what I try to do for people that come into my life, whether it's personally, professionally, in this community. There's so much more, Dave, but I think that sounds like that's what's coming up for me in this moment. So my logical mind wants to jump in there and analyze it, and I'm just gonna go with my intuition, whatever intuition is, and leave it there.
That was beautiful. I really appreciate that. And it's so amazing that that introduction to yourself is so helpful. And I hope others who are listening and watching can see that there is a real beautiful simplicity to all of this. And there is a magic to it in a sort of way because of the for me also in my past, this whatever this is, this focus on what seems to be right in front of my face that's always nagging me and telling me who I am was so strange because it wasn't another person nagging and telling me who I am and what I should do.
It was me.
That's the confusing part. But for anyone brand new to this, it's really confusing. And why am I suffering when it may be very true that every circumstance is in a way neutral, and
Mhm.
then immediately the thinking comes in, and that thinking is part of being human. And like you said, we're doing the best that we can in any given moment, and that's really important to understand. We're all just doing the best that we can in any given moment.
Yeah, Dave, I think it's amazing how like that thinking is so neutral. And when we say neutral, like it's not black and white, it's not gray, it's just thinking, which is like when you really think about that, it's like, whoa, it means nothing, really. And we give that meaning to it, and then we use it to like beat ourselves up. Like, what's that about? I would say all of my eating issues probably started back then, and all of my overthinking started at the age of 12 and 13. And I had a stepdad who was very focused on body and body image, and that influenced my mother. And then I had peers who were weighing themselves and all this stuff. And so I learned at that point that thin was best, and thin meant was value, and that you would only get attention if you were thin. And unfortunately, I it's unfortunately is a thought in itself. I experienced some sexual abuse early on in age, and then I learned, oh well, thin leads to this, so let's not be thin. And so there was a lot of thinking about all of that. And you know what? That led to a lot of disordered decisions. Eating is the thing that I looked at most closely, but that was just an outcome. It led to a lot of disordered thinking around what it meant to be valuable. Decision making about the relationships I was in, the career that I needed to get in, all of the decisions that I made were around seeking worth and acceptance by other people. And the thing that I missed in all of that was that acceptance and worth were part of just being human. That I was brought into this world being worthy, being perfect, being Maria, right? So I didn't need to do anything. All I needed to do was to listen to the path that I was being, drawn to, like whatever that is. And it's changed throughout time. Um, but all of what I see now is that I was influenced by all of the thinking that other people had about worth and acceptance and what it means to be human. And unfortunately, I was surrounded by a lot of people who, and even now, don't share this understanding and are looking in the wrong, not that there's a wrong or right place, Dave, but they're seeking it outside of themselves. And it's such an innocent misunderstanding, right? And so they're doing this the best that they can. My mother was an alcoholic, used drugs, wrong relationships, very smart woman, very beautiful woman, but very caught up in thinking. And I resented her for a long time, because of that. And now I, she's done the best that she could with what she understands to be true. And so she's just caught up, which is all I was too. And I still am every day. I still get caught up in thought every day, but not like I did before.
My gosh, Maria, these podcasts and listening to what you're saying, and my mind is, I don't even know, it's my mind, but my heart, I can feel this compassion, and it's so beautiful. It's so amazing to have this. What's showing up for me is just really intense compassion, and how you have compassion for those that are doing the best that they can. Same here. That's part of this understanding that's so life-changing. I mean, it's incredible, it's tremendous, it's magnificent. There's a understanding all of a sudden that blows everything out of the water. The old ways of thinking and believing in the thinking was the truth, but now feeling this compassion arise over and over and over again. And just like you said in the beginning, the cycle of we're grounded, we're not grounded, we're grounded, we're not grounded, we're grounded, we're not grounded. And when we are grounded, wow, sometimes it's overwhelming, and I can find myself just in tears of joy, of pure joy. The fact that now you have seen what they're doing and still doing, and just knowing that this is the way their life is, the direction that they're looking in is outside, and gracefully we have seen that truth of looking inward, and being, just being that what's inside of us. And I would love for you to explain more on that.
Well, what's coming up for me, Dave, is that, and tell me what you think from your experience, because I know you have an incredible story as well. Is like, I use the word freedom a lot because I just remember being so stuck in these eating issues that I was just like, I just want it to stop. I just want to be free from it. And what I thought was going to be freedom, right? What I thought was going to be freedom isn't freedom. Now knowing what I know, like, is not freedom, right? And I like, for so long I was just like, okay, what are the strategies? What are the steps that it's going to take to make me feel okay with me, to not have the highs, to not have the lows? And I was always like looking for that silver bullet, right? It's like, if you tell me what to do, I'll be the best student. So I was always looking outside of myself, right? So and so's going to have the answer. They found freedom. And so what's coming up for me now is just like, it's so funny because the theme, I feel like this past month, everybody that I've talked to has had like a similar theme come up, in that they've seen something and then they think they lose it, right? They see something and they think they lose it. And I know Amy uses the weather and the chattering teeth as an example, as an analogy of how life is always just working through us. And like lately, I have like thousands of pieces of paper with this on it. So I just need to get this like graphically done, Dave, and put it on my wall. But this is like the ebbs and flows of life, right? Like, this is our thinking. This is how we get caught up in it. And like, maybe I'll just evolve this right now. That's what understanding is. Like, understanding is like, this is life. It's got ebbs and flows, and it's not personal. Like, it actually is not personal. So the thing that's amazing to see is like, when we're in the lows, we can still be just as great as when we're in the highs.
Absolutely.
And in fact, it makes the highs even higher. What do you think?
Absolutely. In fact, this is where absolutely is going to run across the screen this way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So when we see that, the stuff that we're dealing with, whether it's depression or eating or, I don't know, anything else,
Relationships.
relationships, yes, career pathing,
Mm-hmm.
making a change, right? We both made a change from from corporate jobs to coaching full time. That just has a lot less thinking. And then it does have thinking around it. Then it takes us some time to get coordinated. It takes us some time to leap out there and share our story, what we're doing right now. And then it doesn't, because then we see it differently.
I'm going to share an example with you and see if you've had the same thought. Which the beautiful part, another part of this understanding is that we hear that we are one. I know that in my past I probably would have said no to that because I would look at people
Yeah.
through my thinking,
Yeah.
and there's no way that I'm going to be my neighbor. That guy never cuts grass. Through this understanding, it's totally different, completely different. But one of the thoughts that I had while starting my t-shirt shop was, first off, I'm in a space that is unknown to me, so many unknowns, which is the truth about pretty much every single day. But in that context, it would seem to be like this is part of the business. This is going to be challenging. There's going to be a lot of problems and issues. But one of the thoughts that was started to be a recurring thought was being homeless.
Mm,
And it was so in the beginning, it would just show up in, our thoughts. Our thoughts are so random. If people who are watching and listening could somehow just, I don't even know how to explain it, but feel or see, not with your eyes really, but kind of just listen to what shows up for you. It's very, very random. I promise it's random. And so these random thoughts will show up all the time. So I got the homeless thought that was random thought. It just show up. It wasn't a specific day or a specific time, or even if I was busy or not busy, it just showed up. And it would show up and it would say, "Oh, Dave, man, this is way too much work for you. You should probably consider looking into homeless shelters or something like that." And it's like kind of like looking around sometimes. That's why thoughts are so strange. It's like, first off, who am I talking to when I go,
Excuse me, we've got t-shirts to print. I don't know what you're talking about right now.
and you just move on, and the thought rolls off and goes in a different direction, and it dissipates like they all do. And
Yeah.
then 3 weeks later, that thought shows back up again, says, "This is not going well. You didn't meet your client's expectations. The machine has problems. You didn't make the right inks. You know what? There's a homeless shelter in San Antonio, Texas called Haven for Hope. And, you can just walk right in there. No problem. You don't have any problem. They'll take care of you." And it's like, dude, we've got stuff to do. I've got to fix the machine. I got to make those inks. It's like, will you stop that? But
Yeah.
it's not about stopping. It's about understanding how our thinking works. And that's what we share in our coaching practice.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the word random, right? Because they're so random until they're randomly predictable. But that's our thinking, right? Like, well, here's this random thought that actually has no meaning, but now it's so predictable that this random thought is going to show up that maybe it has meaning. And then a story gets created out of it.
And then a story gets created around it. And
Ah,
because I had this understanding, that thought, once the thought, at first I didn't really recognize it, but once I recognized it as something that just shows up and it means absolutely nothing, then all of a sudden it didn't have its power anymore, its magnetism, its stickiness. And then it started to not be not be important, and actually comical to the point to where Have you ever seen anyone laugh to themselves out loud? They don't have earbuds on. They're not speaking to anyone. They just burst out laughing by themselves.
That's me.
I'm the crazy guy in the grocery store who's laughing out loud to himself because thoughts show up.
And they're so ridiculous.
And it's like, oh, wow, it's just so refreshing to see the thoughts that show up that used to tear me into shreds. It was like a shredder. It would just tear me into little pieces. I would focus on it. I'd be right. It'd be right in my face, or I'd be right in its face, whichever way you want to look at it. And it would be devastating. That homeless thought would be devastating. I would sleep the entire weekend because of one tiny little blip of energy that's passing through anyway.
Yeah. I love this because they're so predictable. And so like, I think about my own experience with eating and the people that I help. And I just recently celebrated a birthday, and birthdays are a trigger, right? How am I going to control my food? How am I going to get out of eating cake? How am I going to have just a little bit of the cake? How am I going to tell people not to get me the chocolates because later then I don't want to eat too much, because if I eat too much, I'm going to be a beluga whale and I'm not going to fit into those jeans that I just got into from restricting and over exercising. And so there's like all of this thinking, and anybody who has these very predictable thoughts all share the same thinking. And then, so of course, like later you're like, well, nobody's looking, I'm going to like down the whole cake. And so now,
Me too.
having,
Me too.
yeah. So now having space from that, I can laugh. And like you, like my laughing moments usually come in the car for some reason. It's usually while I'm like in the car and I see something and I'm just like, wow, that's like so ridiculous. But at one point it was so real. It was like cemented on my face, and it was 100% true. Like I had the most beautiful chocolate cake for my birthday, but for many years of my life, that chocolate cake would have been, I'm going to be a beluga whale and I better throw out my whole wardrobe and start shopping and get myself on a diet and work out extra hard this week. And that was very real. That felt so real. That looked so real. And now I realize I didn't plant that. I don't have responsibility. It's not true. It might show up. But as fast as it shows up, it can also leave as fast. And it leaves us fast because we're laughing at it, because you're laughing at it in the grocery store and I'm laughing at it in the car. And we see that that's just the nature of thinking that comes in. But it didn't always feel that way. And
No.
so when I work, tell me what you think about this, Dave, because when I work with people, I'm trying to encourage them to be curious about that thinking. Like, what do you see about it? How random and predictable is it all at the same time? And if it's that random and predictable, can it really be true? Like, where do they come from? Do you really control it? If you don't control it, you wouldn't choose that one. Why is it true? Why is it about you? Why isn't it just a thought?
Yeah.
Wait, you're asking me?
Well, I guess I'm just throwing it out there. What do you think about that? Yeah.
Oh, wow. My mind's, obviously going off in 12,000 different directions. So just pick one, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes my brain doesn't have any answers for it, which is great. I love when my brain doesn't have any answers, really. I do. That's probably one of the most beautiful moments. It's a space between thinking.
And so that's, I love that you brought that up, because when I work with people, they're like, yeah, so Marie, I haven't binged in like 30 days. I haven't binged in 7 days. And what I now see about that, and what I encourage other people to see, is if you're counting the days, if you're counting those milestones, then there's still more to see. Because when we see the true nature of thought, and we would truly disconnect and see it as neutral, there's nothing to measure and weigh. We're just living in a human experience. So a day, a number, a quantity, how many workouts you had that week, how many you didn't have, is just a number. Like, it doesn't tell you anything about who you are or your experience. And so often when we're like, it's funny because when we're trying to get out of our struggle, it's like we put those quantifiers there, right? It's been 5 days since I've had a suicidal thought. It's been 5 days since I haven't binged. Must be freedom. That's not freedom.
Mm.
Freedom is seeing that 5 number comes up and you're like, yeah, whatever, it's 5. So, how's your day going, Dave? Like,
My mind exploded when you talked about the suicidal thought. I mean, for us to share this with people who are brand new to this. And here's the thing about Maria and myself and the other coaches that I've talked to. We know that you are already what we're trying to explain to you.
yeah,
The challenge is, like you said in the beginning, Maria, is the challenge is shifting your direction. Your direction is, if you're struggling, your direction is more focused. And so that number, hey, it's been 7 days. You're still looking at something specifically. You're still right here. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. We all do that. Every single one of the coaches that are on the podcast do that. But we also recognize that that shift is always there. That understanding that the number 7 doesn't make any difference. The suicidal thought doesn't make any difference. The thought of me being homeless doesn't make any difference. And the 300,000 other thoughts that you have per day. Isn't it amazing? It's amazing that we innocently grab one thought. We grab one and we say, hey, it's only been 7 days. Out of all the other thoughts that you've had, the thought of brushing your teeth or feeding the birds or getting your oil change, what about those thoughts?
They go in and they go out like it's no big deal.
But then all of a sudden, boom, one that shows up that seems to be so more ginormous than the other ones. Like, you don't understand. I can have the I want to feed the birds today thought, but I can't have the suicidal thought.
yeah,
That's wrong to have that thought. And it's not wrong. It's just what's showing up for you. It comes in and it goes out. And we innocently, I know I did for 34 years when that suicidal thought showed up. It was devastating. How could the soul that I am, this beautiful creature that I am, how could I possibly have thinking like that? Am I broken? I must be broken. Why would Dave Fry have a suicidal thought? So yeah, that was really important to share. And what I love about you is that when you speak, you say, what's showing up for me right now? Beautiful. It's a beautiful truth, although it may seem strange for those listening.
yeah. And so for those listening, if they're having a normal human experience as we do and did and our clients do, the next thought is, well, then what do I do about it? That's usually what the next thought is, right? From a logical computer brain working mind, we're used to, if there's a leak in the pool, you fix the pool, you patch it, you get a new liner, like you fixed it. Like, you just don't let it leak out. Like, what am I supposed to do?
That was awesome. That was awesome. If there's a leak in the pool, you're going to fix it.
Yeah. But isn't that what we've been conditioned to do? That's our very habitual, beautiful mind working as it should. I always joke, our mind's lazy. Like, you gotta be on this earth 80 plus years. It's gonna figure out, shortcuts to keep homeostasis and keep us healthy. Doesn't mean it's true though. So what do we do about it? And this is the irony of all of this. Understanding is so paradoxical because it's like, well, the less you do and the more curious you are about where it shows up, the closer you get to well-being and freedom. And then that's a what? What? And then we get a lot of thinking about that, don't we?
We do. And just to share in what Maria is saying here is that you get closer to you understanding that you already are the well-being. So she's not saying that from this understanding you're going to recognize something that you're not. She's saying that you already are well-being. But the misunderstanding is that the thoughts that are showing up for you are real, they are factual and real. And those thoughts that show up, they're not blips of energy flowing through the river. They are serious, very important things that you have to act on right now or else. And it's beautiful to see that we're going to go back to the woohoo and we're going to go back to the metaphors, and we're going to keep continuing those metaphors for you as long as possible, over and over again with the metaphors to let you see that when those really serious thoughts show up, be curious about them. See if you can see that they show up randomly, they dissipate, you go about your day, they show up again, they dissipate, you go about your day,
Yeah.
you argue with your husband or wife, you whatever, you laugh at your children, the thought shows up, you go about your whatever, going to the grocery store or whatever. It just thoughts are just random, they show up, and they always move downstream, always move downstream.
Yeah. Dave, this is just, I don't even know where this came from, but it's reminding me of, some of my own lived experience. At one point I was very anorexic, and I'm 5'7" and definitely weighed myself 6 times a day. And so my goal was 90 pounds, like consistent in the day. Like, I know I have a health background, I know things change, no, but the thought of you had to be this weight was very real to me. And people telling me that I was too thin and not eating enough. No, I eat. I eat. I was bone and skin, but the thought was so real that all I could see was the evidence to back that thought up. It felt so real. I'm not thin enough. I'm not thin enough. Even though there was a physical manifestation in front of me that would say something else. And so when we're in our experience with something so tangible, right? That feels so tangible, it's so innocent and hard not to get caught up in that thought. And so, not that you have to argue, I'm not saying get into a battle with thought, but to start just kind of being curious, questioning, not arguing, maybe, I don't know what the right word is, but to start going, okay, well, if like could this maybe not be 100% true? Like, I want to be thinner, but maybe there's some truth. Like, there's 100 people who've told me that I'm too thin. Maybe there's a little bit of truth there. Can you just start to just crack open the window a little bit, open up the blind just a little bit? Not saying that what everybody else is telling you is true, but in that instance, I remember I had a mentor who I just deeply respected, and she went to the gym with me and all the stuff, and she said, Maria, how do you think I look physically? I'm like, oh my God, if I could look like you, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going on, and like, I aspire to be like you. And she said, you were like me, but 50 pounds ago. And I was like, what?
Wow.
That thought was so true that like I wanted to be like her, and I couldn't even see that I was like totally depleted. I mean, and now I just want to look like whatever I show up with. Now that doesn't have any thinking at all. But that helped me to open up the blind just a little bit to go, oh. So I guess there's not as much evidence for this thought as I thought I had.
You bring up an amazing point that has not been shared on these podcasts yet, and I think we should talk about it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The most beautiful part about, for me, why I coach is not to fix the client. The client doesn't need fixing, but they don't know that. For me, we speak in this understanding that we are at our core, the way when we're born to the time we die, we are wisdom, we are love, and we are clarity. That's who we are, not our thinking. And that is powerful to share. And if we were going to sum it all up, that would be it. But I know that that's not easy to digest at certain times. But one of the most beautiful things for me in this practice, and that is speaking with other people, speaking with you, other coaches, but speaking with clients, when their wisdom, love, and clarity arises from within them, it's almost like a message for me. I don't need to rely on my wisdom and clarity. Their wisdom and clarity is speaking to me. And I hear their wisdom and clarity, and it's almost like directed to me, and I can feel it and like, yes. I have that all the time with friends of mine, that they're talking about other things. They're not talking about this understanding. They're just talking about whatever, a relationship and issues or problems or trouble with the kids. And wisdom and clarity shows up. It shows up. Not only does it speak to me, but then I can turn that wisdom and clarity around, their wisdom and clarity around, and feed it right back to them. And then they say,
That's amazing, Dave.
that's fantastic. I really resonate with that. And it's like,
Yeah, you do.
You're the one that said it.
Totally. We're always trying to get the right words around this, and that's why we use metaphors and examples, and one of the metaphors that comes up for me as you're sharing is the whole concept of the kind of the monster, on the wall or under the bed. And I love this because this is as coaches, this is what we do with our clients, but as humans, I think this is the direction that we're always just looking in, is like, Dave and I can tell you that there'll never be a monster, that there is no monster living in your head, or there's no monster on the wall. There's no eating disorder. There's no depression. There's no alcoholism. There's no gambling. It looks like that. It looks so real, and you have lots of evidence for it, and you have lots of thoughts for it, but it's not there. We can tell you that all we want, and you'll have a million reasons and thoughts about why we're wrong. And everybody who told us, we probably said the same thing to them too, right? Well, no, I absolutely am too fat. I don't care that my bones are sticking out, right? I can't have chocolate cake. I'll be a beluga whale. Doesn't matter that, my stepchild can eat a half a cake and not look any different. We have thoughts and evidence for the story that we believe to be true. But once we ask questions and ask ourselves questions and ask other people questions, and they say, oh, there's like this toy dinosaur that's been laying on the floor this whole time, and the way that when the lights go off, it's casting the shadow, and like there's a legitimate monster on the wall. Yeah, there is. I can see the monster on the wall. But now we just know that it's a plastic dinosaur. So we're always finding our plastic dinosaurs, all of us. Like always.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Maria. Well, you are the exalted one, so of course.
No, but really, like all of us are just looking for plastic dinosaurs. Like we just look in directions until we see it, and then it's like, well, it all makes sense. How
Wow.
did I not see it before?
Exactly.
But the one thing, Dave, tell me how this sounds to you, but I used to come from an understanding because I did lots of trauma informed care practice, did all this stuff. I did traditional coaching programs, and they all came from the like misunderstanding of like we need to fix people. We need fixing ourselves and we need to fix people. And it's like, no, no, no. Everybody has the ability to see that there's just a plastic dinosaur. They're gonna see it. 100. There's nobody on this earth who's not gonna see it in some form, extent, even if it's just a little bit. You're going to see it. Like there's no question about it. You can't keep spinning without seeing it. Some of us just see it faster. I was a slow learner. Like I went to this, yeah, like it took me a long time to see it because I was really caught up. And so when people say, well, this isn't going to work for me, or it's taking too long, or whatever, I'm still having this. Yeah, I still have plastic, like I still have thoughts come up that I'm just like, well, there's that thought. I don't like it, but I haven't seen the plastic dinosaur yet. And like I move on. But it's always going to show up. We're always going to see the truth about it. So there's like you and I like know that's true for everybody we talk to. And so I just ask people to look at how that might be true for them. And sometimes we can see it more so in other people first before we see it in ourselves. The people that we live with, the people that we work with, the people that we care about. We just see their humanness first before we see our own. You can see how they flow through life. Well, we have that exact same ability. We just don't think we do right now, in a moment, until we do.
I love the fact that you brought up the dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
When you first started talking about the dinosaur, my mind went blank. It was confused. It was like,
Wait a minute, where is she going with this?
Yeah.
and then you said the shadow on the wall of the plastic dinosaur. And then my mind exploded. Now I know you can't see that, but if we could have gone quantum, if we could have went in there to inside that brain, all those beautiful colors and all that jello just splattered all over the inside of my skull. Because for me, and this is going to be true, I'm going to guess. I'm just guessing here. I'm making up the story, but I'm going to guess that monster, that there's billions of people on this planet that could relate to that monster. And me, especially when I'm gonna have to get back to my monster here, but the monster was a thought. It was a thought that showed up. They're so against me. They're so shallow. They're so negative. Of course they're a monster. They're a dark, dark monster. They're so negative. My own thinking is negative. Therefore, it's a monster and it's ruling my life. And I won't be able to go to work and have relationships with coworkers or bosses, and I won't be able to have relationships with my family and friends. And I won't be able to go hiking because of the monster. And it just, I sucked into myself. I not looked into myself. I buried into myself. And it was a mess to see that monster and then continue its story. Everything else outside of me was what was happening in real time. And again, I appreciate all of your hard work and your dedication to this beautiful understanding of who we are innately, and that is wisdom, clarity, and love.
Yeah, and I appreciate you too, Dave, because this is the community, right? And us being able to share what it is to be human through our own experiences, through our own vulnerabilities, is what is going to create change over time, right? I just think about medicine, and especially mental health is a huge. Um, Again, I hate the label mental health, but when we talk about the human mind, there's so much that's unknown. There's so much that we don't understand. There's so much that we're not going to understand. And so we have people who have good intention. I did a bunch of therapies, inpatient, outpatient, hypnotherapy, like, from both extremes, like extreme Western medicine to extreme like naturopathic medicine and everything in between. And I regret none of it because I learned something about myself in the journey of life and in those moments, but it didn't help me to see what being human was all about necessarily. But of course they brought something to I learned something from everything I've read and done. And sometimes it's just learning it is just that, no, I don't agree. This doesn't speak to me. There's something in this that tells me that this isn't the answer. That's my perspective. That's how I see the world. There's something in me that says that I'm not broken, that I actually like don't need an eating plan, and that an eating plan is making this like monster that I have like actually worse. So just because you're telling me that I need one, there's something in me that says, oh, no, this isn't helping. And in my journey, I ran away and said, oh, okay, like I didn't get the epiphany. I read Brain Over Binge, and there was an epiphany that Catherine Hansen had. Where's my epiphany? I didn't get it. I guess this doesn't mean, must not be working for me. Better get a coach and a nutrition coach and go back to psychotherapy and, sign up for the next greatest program. And every single person that I've come into contact with in their own way, in their own understanding of what they see, they have the best intention. I don't doubt that with what they saw to be true. They tried to do the best. The thing that I think is like amazing is that now in this community and this understanding is we're seeing so many professionals who are coming from more traditional Western, perspectives, and even from a naturopathic and spiritual perspective who are starting to come to this understanding, who see something in this understanding. And so I just think about like how the world has changed, mechanics and like all this stuff that my brain can't wrap its head around. And I'm not a techie, so I don't even go there. But like all this AI stuff, the fact that I can say, hey, Google, and get an answer, like all that stuff has progressed like way further than our understanding about what it is to be human and how our mind works. That's all. We're still like from a traditional standpoint, we're still using Freud as our frame of reference. Yeah. So we're going to get old things of understanding. If we were still working on the horse and buggy, we'd still have horse and buggies. But people have seen more in, technologies than we have with our mind. And that's because to me, it looks like it's because it's more tangible. And this thing that we're talking about is not tangible. We don't even know how to put words around it. Some people are going, what is she talking about with this dinosaur? I'm going to tune out at this point. Like, I don't get this, right?
Right.
So we're just always trying our best to put our words around something that's an experience. And so all we can do is to be open for that experience to happen on its own, so that you go, okay, I get this T-Rex metaphor. Or not.
Or not.
And something else comes to you. I was speaking with a client and she was like, and we were talking about the computer brain, right? And she said, oh, it's like a smartphone, like your apps just come up. Yeah, like that's a good analogy. I never thought of it that way. That's just how this understanding evolves.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's it, right? It's like we're trying to like figure out these big questions that are just they're not black and white. A plus B does not equal C. And I always thought A plus B equals C. And I thought 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 times 3 minus, this is the equation. Where's my equation? Somebody give it to me. I will work hard. I will succeed. Oh, there's no recipe. The recipe is actually in us, and we have to just learn to listen. I love meditation and yoga, not because I think you need meditation and yoga to achieve anything in life, just because I like it. There's no reason to do it, or just because I like it and that's what speaks to me. And I love reading things like Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's like this quantum physicist, like has all of the science in the background, and he's measuring brain waves, and it's like like we're trying to figure this thing out that's called life, and we can put measurement around it, which is really cool. We can talk about energy fields and stuff, but it's like even a Dr. Joe Dispenza, like if you read his early work and you read his work now and you hear him speak, even his meditations are just so like they're so different than they were even a year ago. Like he just sees more and more and more and more, and that's all we're ever doing. And so I think our work, when people say, okay, well, tell me what to do because I'm struggling here and it hurts and it feels real and it's having impact on my life, and it does. When we're caught up in misunderstanding, it does impact our life. I mean, the starting place is just to see if you can see something new, to be open enough just to maybe question that even one thought is not true. I don't know. Well, you don't have to look at all of them. You don't just start with everything, but even just one thought.
That is so brilliant. You are a brilliant human being. You really are. It's incredible.
See, my thinking says, Dave, you're a brilliant human being, and let's argue about this. But we're all brilliant, aren't we?
We are all brilliant.
Yeah.
What the bleep do we know? Did you ever watch that documentary?
I haven't. No.
Joe's in that one.
Oh, I should watch that. What the bleep do we know? Okay.
All quantum physicians, some doctors, some philosophers, and they're saying, what the do we know? And isn't that amazing? Because these guys are, both men and women, are experimenting with things that are beyond our comprehension, but beyond their comprehension too. And they share this stuff with you, and it's still, they're trying to explain something that they can't explain, and yet they're explaining it, and it's hilarious because they're doing the best they can, and they're saying, what the bleep do we know? One of my favorite books on the planet is by Richard Bach. It's called Illusions. And in that book, it talks about asking for something, just asking the universe, or whatever word you want to put in there, right? Doesn't have to be the universe, but for my presentation, it's going to be the universe. Ask the universe for something that's out of the ordinary. So for me, at one point in my life, I asked the universe to show me a yellow feather. Now, the thing about where I live in Missouri.
And I feed the birds.
So I know all the birds in my neighborhood. I know them all. I know the brown thrashers, the tufted titmouse, the chickadees, the blue jays, the cardinals, the wrens. I know all of them, and all the woodpeckers. There's a lot right now.
It's spring. A lot of activity going on.
Anyway, but I asked to witness a yellow feather. And the reason why that's important is because none of my birds are solid yellow. They may have some yellow in them, not a main feather of being pure yellow. That would be something that would be out of the ordinary. And so I just took it on as a social experiment, and I played around with it. And every day I just said specifically, they talk about being specific. So I said that this was going to be a wing feather, not a tuft feather. It's going to be a wing feather. It's going to be yellow. That's what I want to see. I would just say that over and over again and again. Not that you have to do this. And I was getting to the point to where I was like, well,
this is stupid.
This is not happening. It's so out of the ordinary that it's just not going to happen. And sure enough, I could go in my storage somewhere and find it, but I have it in a Ziploc bag. It is a yellow feather.
Are you kidding me? I'm like the scientists that are trying to explain to you quantum physics.
I can't explain how that happened, but it happened. If that's at all true, at all, then what Maria and I are saying is true. It's true. And if you just be curious about what happens in your life, and be curious about when your thoughts show up, like Maria said, when she's driving. Same here when I'm driving. For Sarah Parker, was in the shower. Thoughts show up that she recognizes as something different. We are so in tune with the thoughts that we have on a regular basis that we can be perfectly fine with suffering. perfectly fine with it. We can believe that's who we are. We're telling you that that's not the truth. When we say that you're infinite possibilities, we mean it. There's no other way around it. That yellow feather appeared, and I can't tell you how it happened. Can't do it.
And that playing is where to start, right? Just play with things, because that that yellow feather that you identified, in another space and time, perhaps that yellow feather would have been there and you would have missed it because of all the thought. You would have missed out on the opportunity to see that, not because it didn't happen, but because you overthink it. You know, this couldn't happen. What is this guy talking about? I'm not even going to manifest this. I don't know. When you start to play with things, life sort of shows you a different story. I love when you're talking about that. One of my favorite things. So I am not a detailed person at all. So I love science and personalities. I did my master's in organizational leadership. So I love all the science, right? I'm big thinker. Details, like I will spell your name wrong. I'll spell my name wrong. Like everything, like my emails are a mess. Like I am not a detailed person. And my calendar is regularly a mess because of it. So one of my flaws, and I now have help to organize my calendar because it is not a strength. So every once in a while, though, there'll be an explosion where I've gone in and tinkered with it, and I'll be triple booked, double booked, like just disastrous. And every time it happens, I get so excited now. Like the previous, like OCD, like type A, like you are not a professional Brigantino if your calendar is not organized, and there might be some moving about of things, would have like gone crazy and I would have punished myself for it. But now I'm like, ooh, what's going to happen with my calendar today? And it never, ever, ever, ever lets me down. Like people move themselves, like even up to like a half hour before. I've never had to interfere, not once to this point. People ask to go different day, to move down. Somebody says that blah, blah, blah. Wow, it just worked itself out, and better than I could have organized it. But a previous version of a caught up Brigantino would have been in there moving people. I'm so sorry. I'm going to give you a free session. I made a mess, blah, blah, blah. I would have interfered with that thing and it would have been a mess. And now it happens, like, it doesn't happen that frequently, but when it happens, like, it has just never let me down. It was mind blowing every single time. And then on a personal note, I don't like, Dave, I have to tell you, I love your bird story, because my dad was always a bird lover and watcher. He could tell you everything. Same with like nature and mushrooms and all this stuff. And he just knows all that stuff. And I never got it. And recently we moved, and there's this beautiful magnolia tree right outside of my office.
Oh,
I have somehow just become like a bird lover, where I'm looking everything up. And the bird that I wanted to see was the tufted titmouse, because one, it's funny to say the tufted titmouse, and two, they're really, really cute. And so the other day I just saw one, and I'm like, hold on a second, and I'm outside my window taking pictures, and like so excited, man. Like this is the things that excite me. So I love that your bird story as well. But once you start to play and hold things like a little less lightly, like, you know, if I really screwed up my calendar and Dave never talks to me as a result of it, then maybe we weren't meant to talk. Like once you start to just like believe and be, you know, playful and just kind of trust that the universe actually does have your back, things will start to open up. Like you start to realize, oh, maybe I don't control this thing as much as I thought I did. And actually, when I really hold on tight and try to control it, I just really make it a mess. And that's suffering, right? If I control my eating and my weight and my thinking about it, and I'm just doing this all the time, and I just create a mess. And really all we're trying to go is like, yeah, your thoughts want to bring you here. And we just want to open up and loosen it a little bit more.
it feels so good.
Yeah, so hopefully what people are getting out of this is like you don't control it, and so you can just be a little nicer to yourself and let go a little bit.
Yeah. Let it
Like,
go. Let
like
it go.
hopefully,
I wonder.
That's my theme song, right?
I wonder if there's a song that we could come.
There
up
is Frozen.
I'm
The
just
Frozen Let It Go song.
I'm giving you trouble. I know that about you.
Yeah. I own that. I still get caught up in thinking. And so, but the difference is, it's not like you can control your thoughts and say, like, oh, that thought about my weight or my appearance or the food I'm going to eat or what it means to, have a suicidal thought, that'll never show up again. That's not what we're saying. Like, that stuff's going to show up, or it might not, and it might, and something new will show up. It's just that there's no truth behind a thought. That's what we're trying to point you toward, is the thought, just because you think it doesn't mean it's true, even though it feels like it could be true.
That's huge. That's perfect. It's perfect. The thought of me being homeless doesn't show up anymore. And if you knew where I was behind this veil of consciousness over here, you'd probably think he might be homeless. But the funny thing is that the thought doesn't show up anymore. So it was never real in the first place. How beautiful is that? It's so fascinating and so strange, because I've actually had a client who was a psychiatrist. I had a client. Dave Fry had a client who was a psychiatrist. If that's not the whole quantum loop, yellow feather, tufted titmouse, plastic
Dinosaur.
flipping around the universe expanding, I don't know what is. I don't know how this works, but having this understanding and coaching and volunteering in this community, beyond comprehension, how this whole thing has moved in these directions. And oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for this understanding. I'm going to say beyond words.
Yeah, it is beyond words, for sure. We're just always trying to describe an experience.
Okay, let me ask you. I have a friend of mine who loves to throw in some questions.
Okay.
She gets really excited. She's like, "Who's on next? Who's on next?"
Maria.
Okay. All right, great. Here's some questions.
Yeah, got it. Maria, I have some questions for you from a friend of mine, AGD. What's up, AGD? She gets really excited about the fact that incredible human beings are on my podcast, and I'm so grateful for that.
Thank you, universe.
How is life experienced now on a daily basis in comparison to before this understanding? What was the biggest change in how you approach life? What would you tell your younger self from this vantage point?
Oh, those are so many good questions.
She's good.
AGD, do we have 3 days? But if I had to summarize 3 days of conversation, what would I tell, and how do I experience life? And it's so simple. Like, the answer is so simple, is that it's not personal. It's not about me. And that I'm so much bigger than this like human flesh suit, right? Like, in this conversation, we say a lot of times that life is just living through us. And it's like, I've said that to friends before, and they've said, are you sure you didn't make a mistake? Like,
I know you're not detail oriented. Is that really what you want to say?
Oh my gosh.
but I think that sentence summarizes all three of those questions. Every day, I literally just see that there is something. I got here somehow, other than the stork. My parents, I got here somehow. And there's a path for me. And I'm not supposed to have the playbook. Like, I didn't come with a set of instructions. And so why do I have to live my life by a set of thought-created rules and instructions? So I just see that more and more in myself and in other people, which reinforces it in myself. And my seeing it reinforces it in other people, right? So it's a cyclical, like, give and take. So what I would have told myself, even as a youngster, worrying about math exams. Like, I just remember that, like, oh my God, the world. And I remember I had this math teacher, Mr. Jackson. He's like, so if you fail this exam, are you gonna die? And he was like that, you know, he exaggerated it that much.
Are you gonna die?
And Dave, my thoughts were like, well, I'm not going to get into university and I'm not going to become a physiotherapist. If I'm not a physiotherapist, my father's going to be disappointed. If my father's disappointed, then what am I going to do? And if I'm not a physiotherapist, then I'm not going to be employed, and then I'm not going to be able to afford to take care of myself, and then I'm going to be homeless, right? Like it, like that was the math exam. Like that was my thinking around that math exam in grade 11. So I had a lot of thinking about math, Dave, about whether I was going to be able to do this stuff. So what I would have told myself is, don't just like, it's not meant to be as serious as we make it out. And when you can be playful, even in the dark, even in the downturns of it, and when you can be open, life will show you what you're meant to do and how you're meant to do it. Your calendar will figure itself out. There's nothing to go and mess about. You will find the yellow feather. We don't control it. Nobody else can control it. We can't control it for you. That's for you to see. So have more fun and take it less seriously. I guess that's what I've learned. Have more fun and take it less seriously.
Dinosaur. Let's drink to this, Maria.
Close to our podcast.
Tell everyone how they can get in touch with you, how we can reach out to you. What do you offer people?
So my website, empath.ca, that will be below. I have a few options there. I do offer just, a discovery call for anybody who's curious to learn more, who maybe just has some questions. And I've got that on my online calendar so people can sign up and use that as you like. Dr. Amy Johnson and I are right now working on a 4-week binge eating kind of self-study at home program, and that'll be out soon. That'll be on my website if you're interested in doing that. Got an online community, and we're always working on new things as well. And then I do offer one-on-one sessions if that speaks to you. You can always book that online as well. And the other thing I would say is, if there's something from us that you need that we don't offer, let us know, because Dave and myself and other people in this community, at the end of the day, we're here because we care. We've seen something that we want, that we know can provide freedom and just like a more joyful, whatever joyful even means, life to people. So if you don't see it, just ask. I'm always accessible by email. I know you are too, Dave. Like we're both quick responders. So just reach out and let us know.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. And I can't thank you enough for saying yes and being on the podcast, on the Space Between podcast. Appreciate you. You're an amazing human being. And it's so funny that you had said that you're not detailed oriented, because in our coaching calls, which coaches have coaching calls, by the way, just want you all to know that this is not a solo project.
We're all in this together.
And that's very important to know. And on our coaching calls, Maria is quick. She's quick to respond to any, if the coaches have questions and you can see they're thinking, and their thing is like staring around. Maria's like, boom, she's in there. And she's like, this is what you need to do. Here's a call to action. And she'll type it out and send it to you email, and it'll be in your email box in 30 seconds. And it's like,
we haven't finished the question yet.
So
I'm responsive, but it will have a million spelling mistakes and it won't be grammatically correct.
Who cares?
Oh, we're just human. Yeah, we're just human.
We're just human.
If only there was some sort of illustration.
Did you know, Maria,
that Maria means
drop of the sea.
and beloved in Hebrew?
It also means rebelliousness.
Or
Exalted one.
I like the rebellious part of that.
I like the exalted one. Everything we talk about seems like it steers in this understanding, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's start this podcast. That's why it's 2 hours, because I'm all over the place trying to figure out what to do.
It's what? Is this your fiance? No, it's my .ca, huh?
.ca, yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
36 hours.
Not that there's anything wrong. There she is again.
Drop of the sea. They knew it. Boom. Giant letters. You're just a thought away, dude.
I talk all the time. Love talking.
I'm just saying.
I'll see what I can do.
How many times have I done this and I've never looked in the right place?
Yes.
So ask for help.
I will.
I will, for sure.
I think that's funny. All this detail, all this enlightened experience, and it's like,
Are you looking at my pimple?
it's so funny, isn't it? Comes right back around again.
Like, totally. Like, we're always just having a human experience. We always have thinking.
Yeah, always.
Leave it to you.
You're like, I'm not talking to you anymore because Alex doesn't give me stuff to do.
Oh my God, you're amazing. Oh,
Oh my gosh. No.
You knew from going in there that that's not what they were looking for, but you were there anyway. Wow. 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 Wow.
Just be Dave, but like share, like, because you have a secret that lots of people don't have and that they're looking for.
God, that's amazing. Amazing. These conversations are so profound to me. They're amazing. And when you said that that did not resonate with you, that was brilliant to me. It really was, because it just shows that there are certain things that are going to resonate with us and other things aren't. All right, Maria, thank you so much. I could
Okay, I'll see you Monday.
Yeah,
see you Monday.
it's like,
Thank you.
like we're going to work. Okay, so,
Have a good day.
okay. Okay. Bye now.
Bye, Dave.
Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Ding!
Or not.
Or not. Bada boom, bada bing.
Bada.
Unfolding and unfolding and unraveling and unraveling and revealing and revealing.
Narrowing the focus. And it's like, you know, and when you did this during the podcast, you know, it's like,
This is really the answer.